Hey Kshitiz, welcome to day 1000.
Thanks a lot, Kavan, for having me here. Very excited to be talking to you.
I think so many people must be looking forward to, being in your shoes one day. You started off young, you were part of Y Combinator and are also building in AI. So the
Yeah.
aim for the conversation, right, is to talk about the first 1000 days which
Hmm.
a founder goes through. And as we all know, those are the toughest. Essentially, you're making a dead entity alive. And that
Yeah.
takes a lot out, which people really don't know. So the idea is to ask you three questions and, kind of get your perspectives on them. But before we get started, Siddesh, can you give us a little bit of an introduction about you and what your company does?
Sure, sure. So I run Voosh, and Voosh primarily helps restaurant do their delivery business profitably, right? So we anything which is related to a delivery business, when you order something online, right? There's a lot that goes behind, and actually most of the biggest brands as well, right, don't make any money when they are delivering food. All the money that they're actually making is ideally in other forms of business, which could be an on offline business or pickup business, right? Dining business. But because of such high complexity of working on platforms, let's say DoorDash, Uber Eats, Grubhub, so many fees are there, so many processes are there, right? Restaurants actually end up not making money, right? So Whoosh is a all-in-one solution to that. We are like a operating system for your delivery business, right? And we help you automate a lot of your tasks, right, on these platforms, right? From managing your ads and promotions, managing your chargebacks, managing your financial reconciliation, reputation management, so on and so forth, right? We are very, very vertically integrated into the entire ecosystem, and we do it everything with the help of AI as well as our expertise in the restaurant industry, right? So it's been 5 years that we have been running Whoosh, and for the first 1,000 days, right, to like just give a glimpse of how we the journey has been. For the first 1,000 days, we were not doing this business, right? So we pivoted twice before actually nailing down the right problem, and then building the right solution, then hitting PMF, hitting profitability, and hitting the scale that we are at. So yeah, that's about what we do.
Fantastic. No, thanks for sharing that. I think often founders feel that, you need to have that aha moment and then you start a business. But often you have to start something and that's where you'll get the aha moment, right? Your aha
Yeah,
moment follows your
yeah.
action, not the other way around.
I'm a big believer in that. Yeah.
Fantastic. So, first question, right? Which is obviously on everybody's mind is how do you get your first customers? Which is, let's say, you're on your day zero.
I'll tell you my true story, right? Which has really worked well for me, which is, I would say, you have to be shameless in terms of talking to your users, right? Because a lot of times I feel, and I talk to a lot of founders, I definitely feel that their customer is right in front of them, but they don't have the guts to talk to them, right? Because they feel whatever it is, right? I think the first step is radical focus on understanding who your customer is, right? So that the targeting is solved, right? Which in startup term we call as ICP, ideal customer profile, right? If you are able to very, very deeply, specifically tell about your user that, okay, this I feel as a founder, as per my research, should be my ideal customer, and you have all the details about that person in your head, right? Okay, this person does this, is of this age, is located here, is usually doing this, that's why my product is relevant to them, etc., etc. You are like very deep into it. The second step is talk to people in your network who can connect you with somebody like them, right? Or go and outreach people, right? The first customer that we got for Whoosh, right, in the new software avatar in the US was by me putting out massive cold outreach, right? It could be talking on email, LinkedIn, pestering them that, okay, is this a problem, is this not a problem, right? And looking at the data, we could understand that, okay, people are reading these emails multiple times, they are clicking and going to our website, so there is some interest, right? They are somewhat interested. And then you sort of change your messaging a little bit, do that A/B testing, right? And we got the first reply, right? And that person, right, had more than 10 outlets. When we call outlets, it means restaurant, right? We work with a restaurant.
Fantastic.
So that guy had more than 10 restaurants, and he said that, I think I definitely need this. And when can we talk, right? That's after like a lot of outreach and all of that, right? And that first user led to monetization, led to us co-designing the product with them, right? And then that user also being used as a case study in our other outreaches, right? And that customer helping us in connecting with other restaurateurs, right? So I call that customer an angel in our life, right? So that is how we got it done. But I think the bigger aspect is that be shameless in your outreach, and to be actually relevant for that outreach, you should know your customer very, very well. Because let's say if Kavan is your if Kavan is your ICP, you should not reach out to Kshitij, right?
Hmm.
Because Kavan is looking out for you, not Kshitij, right? So once you talk to a lot of people like Kavan, there would be 2, 3, 4, 5% people who would be willing to at least get on a call with you and say that, okay, can we get something out of it, right? So that's my 2 cents on
Fantastic.
outreach.
I want you to quantify massive, right? Because for a lot of people, massive cold outreach could be even 100 emails. Can you tell us a little bit more about how many emails did you send?
Yeah, I like, from a quantity perspective, I'm not sure, but it is in thousands, right? It is in thousands for
Right.
sure. And if you look at the sort of sequence, let's say one email after the other, and then it would be definitely in thousands. And but what I was primarily doing was I was constantly changing my messaging depending on what was working. Right. So
Hmm.
for every outreach, you get data that how many people clicked on it, how many people viewed it, how many times, right? Inside your email, what was the engagement, right? So you get all of that on multiple platforms. Let's say we used to use HubSpot, right? So maybe people use Apollo, maybe people use something else, right? So just look at the data, and quantity definitely matters, but you can't just spray and pray. So you keep need to sort of keep dividing your customer base, right? So within our ICPs, we also divided it into SMBs, mid market, and enterprise, right? And then tried to change the messaging a little bit, and then divided some micro niches that, okay, this guy is a pizzeria, right? So maybe change a little bit of your outreach for a pizza person versus a burger person,
Hmm.
right? So that hyper customization has to happen so that it feels genuinely relatable to the prospect that you are trying to get.
Another
Yeah.
follow up I have is on the first part you mentioned, which is people always say you should know your customer. And I've seen founders define 6 personas, 5 ICPs, because naturally, let's take your example. You talk to restaurants. There are multiple people in a decision committee. Could be the founder, the co-founders, it could be the CFO, CEO, CXOs, etc. So
Mhm.
when you say know your customer, how deep do I go into and how many personas do I tap into?
Very, very interesting question. So this is a deep problem of exploration, right? Because when I talk to any entrepreneur, right, or it could be me launching a new product, right? Because I become that new entrepreneur at that point of time, right? I feel that everyone should buy the product. It is so great, right? We are solving the right problem, right? But ideally, very few people would ideally want to use that product because that is a biggest pain point in their day of work, right? So let's take it like that, right? So I think the biggest piece is how many people can you talk to, right? So let's say if I have 6 personas defined, can I make sure that I talk to all these 6 people in a very detailed way, and maybe multiple people in all these personas, right? To actually cut short into who is the relevant TG, right? And then obviously the biggest thing is also having the common sense of not thinking that everyone needs my product, right? So let's say if I am selling a financial recovery solution, right? Let's say, right, that I help you get your money back, which we do massively, right? My key target is somebody who actually deals with that problem on a day-to-day basis, right? So if I'm talking about profitability, the CEO and CFO are the people that I need to talk to. Are you getting my point? So I don't need to talk to the chief marketing officer, right?
Hmm.
Right. So it just keeps on sort of defining and keep on changing that. So I think the biggest mantra is talk to as many people as possible, right?
Hmm.
And then cut it down to one or two people, one or two personas to begin with, right? Not more than two. Otherwise, your focus gets deviated, right? And
Yes.
the problem with exploration is that everyone will tell you something else to solve, right? That, okay, do this, also do that, also do this, also do that, also. Our job as founders is not to solve problems, but to identify it, right? Because if you have identified the right problem, I'm sure you will be able to solve it, right?
Hmm.
The problem is with every founder that I meet is that we are all trying to build a solution, right? For which I don't know if there is a genuine problem or not,
Right.
right?
Right.
So,
I think
yeah,
the biggest mistake smartest people make is optimizing a solution which is not required. So I fully
exactly.
agree with what you just mentioned there. I want to now jump into the second question, right, Kshitij? So often, once you get a check or even get some, financing into your company, you
Mhm.
suddenly feel like, okay, I'm a real business. And if you are doing something different, which is what a lot of founders feel they are, everything
Mhm.
seems like a new untapped territory. You feel there is
Mm.
so much you could do. There's a temptation to build, a temptation
Yeah.
to grow fast.
Yeah.
And everybody makes mistakes, when it comes
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
kind of which area should I put my money on. And I wanted to kind of get to that, which is in the
Mhm.
first 1,000 days, which is that spend you regret
Mhm.
that you made.
Yeah, a lot of it. Because in the first 1,000 days, we pivoted twice and we hyper scaled two businesses, put in a lot of capital, and genuinely realized that that was a mistake. In hindsight, you can't do it at that point of time. But now, as having a little bit of experience, I can say, I think the biggest spend that I feel I should have not done is on expansion without PMF, right? Which we have done to be very honest. So in the first version of Woosh, we were like a Oyo for restaurants, right, in India. So we'll basically go to existing restaurant and tell them that, okay, we'll give you our technology, our SOP, our branding, right? And we'll basically help you compete with the branded outlets, let's say with the McDonald's, Papa John's, and Burger Kings of the world, right? We'll basically give you all of that which you need, right? And that was a massive proposition because everyone wanted it, right? And successfully, we were able to give them a 30 to 40% increase in their overall revenue, right? Because they had our brand, they were listed on all online channels, they were doing great in terms of quality and pricing and all of that, right? But we did not had PMF primarily because we were not making money even after onboarding, let's say 100 outlets, right?
Mm,
So net PNL was loss making for us as well as for the restaurant, right? Because of so many fees that a Swiggy and Zomato would sort of deduct from them, right? So without PMF, we scaled that business to more than 200 outlets, right? And we were celebrating on every bigger milestone in terms of revenue, rather, okay, now we are at this revenue, at that revenue, whatever it is, right? But at the end of the day, PMF is when you actually make money, right? When there is a very good projection of profits or you are actually making profits, right? And you are seeing that retention, that repeat, that customer love which is coming out for your brand, right? So I think that was one big mistake. We did the same mistake in the second business, which was, let's say, world's first 10-minute food delivery, right? Which we
mm,
launched in Bangalore. We got viral. We were like, people were going crazy that this experience is magical and so on and so forth, right? But the the end goal was that we were unable to sort of work on our unit economics, right? Massive burn, massive drop in customer retention with price increases. We could see all of that data, right? But still, we were like, okay, let's expand to 2 kitchens, 3 kitchens, 5 kitchens, 7 kitchens, 10 kitchens, right? Because it was just exploding, right? In
yeah.
terms of the revenue bit, right? But the real PMF is not that, right? So I think that is my biggest takeaway, which we genuinely improved in our current iteration, right? We built the product with the customer,
Mm,
right? We co-designed it at a very detailed level. We went
mm.
from one product to five products, all having massive PMFs and getting massive retention, NPS, and referrals, right? So that is what I have done wrong and then implemented it in the right way.
Fantastic. I feel a lot of people go through this because it feels you have product market fit very often.
Yeah.
Because you've cooked up something from your head with your team, and now you're like, wow, somebody's paying me for it. So that excitement
Exactly.
is so high. You're like, let's take it to more people. And only a mature, seasoned entrepreneur who's failed or done
Yeah.
multiple 1,000 days knows that all of this is just a shiny object. It's a distraction, and you have to really dig deeper.
Exactly.
So I just wanted to know, right, from you,
Mhm.
if I was listening to this, right,
Mhm.
and even IndieFolio, for example, has gone
Mhm.
through multiple pivots with the exact same problem you just mentioned, right? So
Yeah.
why is it that, obviously again and again, smart people seem to make the same mistake? Like, what do you think the listeners
Mhm.
can take away to actually prevent this from happening to them?
That is, I think, the secret sauce that makes running startups so difficult, right?
Mm.
Because otherwise, all VC bets would have been successful, right? They would have made money and so on and so forth, right? But but in my opinion, what I genuinely follow right now and which has been working like really well for me has been sell first, build later. Okay.
Fair.
I have seen a lot, and I keep meeting founders, right, who are building first and then testing the product, right, in some way or the other, right? I am a massive believer right now that if, let's say, I'm selling to Kavan, right, I'm going to understand your problem, right? I'm going to take prioritization from you, that okay, you have 20 pains. What is your top 3 pain, right? Why is it a pain? What is your current competition? How are you currently solving it? Why do you want a guy like me to solve it with my tech understanding or whatever it is, right? Then I would co-build or co-design the product with my customers, so that from day zero I have Kavan as my customer, no, as a guy who's paying me,
Correct.
right? And then I'll try to find multiple people like you and then go from one to the other. And this could be very B2B centric, because right now I am in that life mode where all the time I'm thinking about how to build B2B products, right? But I think, and I've seen few of my buddies do it at a B2C level also, right? That okay, if somebody is running a clothing brand, they are looking at a very specific problem, that okay, how do I solve for people who have a belly, beer belly, right? And then they are designing that entire product with like 20 men who have beer bellies, right? And that product hits instant PMF because he has the 20 customers for sure, right?
Correct.
And then it keeps on growing, and the launch becomes so much better. So I think one line, sell first, build later, can help you.
Fantastic. I want to now jump on to the last piece, right, which is your channels.
Uh-huh.
A channel is extremely important for a startup to really understand what to grow on, but you have to
Uh-huh.
experiment, you have to try, you have to fail and measure to
Correct.
know, what's really working for you. In your
Correct.
experience, right? And maybe we can stick to B2B as an example, right?
Uh-huh.
Which is your, according to you, your most underrated channel and your most
Mhm.
overrated channel. Let's start with
Mhm.
underrated first.
So I think channels keep on changing with time, right? In different at different stages of your company, right? So the channel that was dominant when we started is not dominant right now, and our job is to constantly experiment, put money, properly build a process around it, and see at a quarterly level what channel has been working best. I would say the most underrated channel. Which one did you ask first? Underrated or overrated?
Let's start with underrated.
Okay. So the most underrated channel has been LinkedIn, right? For us, right? And I genuinely thought that it's fine, it's okay. We need to better focus on hiring a sales guy who's in the US or Canada, right? Where we operate and all of that, right? But LinkedIn, the kind of interest that it has generated for us, right? I go to the US, I see people talking to like multiple people saying that, okay, have you seen that post of Voosh? Right. And if I meet somebody, say, they, oh, I follow you guys on LinkedIn, man. That is something. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're always there. You're always there, right? So both in terms of awareness and conversions, LinkedIn has been like a game changer
When
for
you say
sure. At
LinkedIn, what are
least
you doing on LinkedIn? Is it content, LinkedIn DMs, ads?
so we don't do ads at all, and we have tried a little bit, hasn't worked out for us. We are primarily focused on the content bit, right? We do sort of try to become thought leaders. We actively write from our page, from our own profiles, right? And there's a lot of like we share data on how we are doing in terms of the progresses that we have made for our clients, right? We'll try to share some case studies that how other restaurateurs like you have benefited after using Woosh. This
Mm.
is like the dollar impact. This is the manual time saving impact. This is like XYZ impact, which is relevant to our industries, right? So that has been like a major driver. And engagement wise, it is like best in terms of any other channel, right? You can take any other channel, but in terms of, let's say, key decision makers actually commenting on your post, sharing it, etc., or booking a call so that they can look at the demo and buy the product, has been massive.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And when I say overrated, right? And this has also changed over time. Initially, this particular channel of going into, let's say, conferences and putting in a lot of money, right? Putting exhibiting in a conference in the US is like massively costly. It's not straightforward. You end up spending like a lot of thousands of dollars, right? So in the beginning, to build the brand, to know and get to meet the key stakeholders, that gave us like good ROI. But after that, we are like, okay, we need to be very specific in the conferences that we are investing versus just attending, so on and so forth, right? So right now it is that. But as I said, that all these channels, right, you have to figure out something and then constantly keep on experimenting. For us, we have tried a little bit of Google ads, we have tried a little bit of LinkedIn ads as well, but we haven't seen any conversions on that, right? And we have done it over a decent period of time when I can say that it's not genuinely working. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. No, that's really helpful. I feel everybody operating in the B2B category needs to listen to this, right? Because usually
Yeah.
thought leadership, content, personal branding is important because
Mhm.
in B2B, you trust the brand less, but the people more. I really feel
Exactly.
like buy from the person you trust, not really a
Exactly.
shiny ad, which is it's not a knee jerk purchase. कि यार ये मस्त लग रहा है 1000 रुपए का है, तो खरीद लेते हैं. It's a
Agree.
huge deal.
Yeah.
It's going to impact not my money but my company's money, which I'm accountable for. So I think some very
Exactly.
very insightful bits here. One thing here,
Mhm.
Kshitiz, so you said it's always evolving. Just curious to know how was the
Mhm.
first year in terms of channels, and what is the fifth year today in terms of channels?
That's a great question. I think in the beginning, we got a lot of leads from our email marketing that we used to do the outreach, right? That
Cold
got the
outreach.
first customer, second, third customer, and DMing on LinkedIn as well, right? At that point of time, we were not doing content in terms of our blog or our LinkedIn posts, etc., etc. So that was a major driver. Right now, there's a massive interest coming in from, let's say, our content, which is SEO and LinkedIn, both a very similar type of content. But like if you look at leads coming in directly from our website, that is great. Leads coming in from LinkedIn, that is great. Another channel that has really worked out well in the current time is via partnerships. So we are partnering with massive SaaS restaurant SaaS companies in the US, and we are sort of co-selling so that we are basically like non-competitor companies holding hands and then co-selling so that, let's say, if Kavan is my buyer, right, then I'm able to his needs with a
Hmm.
single POC,
Hmm.
right? So I think that is how it has changed.
Superb. Yeah, I think I see a lot of outbound motion into inbound motion as the companies grow because you also
Correct.
compound on your authority and people then start coming to you. But it's a great sign, I guess, of
Exactly.
you putting your word out there. As a parting
Mhm.
thought, uh, all founders who are listening to this, right? If you were to tell them how to get through the first 1,000 days, right? What's your advice to that?
That's I think that's the toughest question, Kavan, till this podcast, right? I mean, see, at the end of the day, nothing matters more than your own happiness, right? So don't do this mistake, which everyone does, which both of us would have done for sure, right? That you start ignoring yourself and your people around you, right? That are your friends or family, right? I think you should think about life as a balance in a very balanced approach, right? Obviously, there are phases where you're working more, working less, whatever it is, right? But I would say, don't map your self worth with the success or the speed of outcomes, right? So that is like, I think that has bothered me and everyone that I talked to for a very long time that, yaar, itne time se kar rahe hai, kuch ho nahi raha. There's so much. We are working 24x7, but nothing is happening, so on and so forth. And then you go into depression, bad health, and so on and so forth, right? But I would say that वही है कि कर्म करते जाओ and फल मिल जाएगा. Ideally, you should just talk to your customer and they'll tell you whether you are in the right direction or not. If you are in the right direction, then result will come, right? So I would just say that take take it as a holistic experience doing a startup, and first 1,000 days are very very crucial because you are building the culture of your team as well. You are building so many, I would say, outbound motions where you're creating interest or trust with your investors, employees, customers, so on and so forth, right? And there for a founder to stay calm and composed, right? And having that smile on his face, irrespective of whatever shit is going down, right? Is the biggest flex that you can do, right? And I'm sure if you do that, you're gonna get successful. So
Awesome. That's like really profound advice from a very experienced entrepreneur. I can totally hear that. But thank you so much. Yeah, this is the end of our podcast. I hope you had fun.
I had an amazing time, Kavan. Thanks a lot for having me.
Pleasure. And for everybody who's tuned in, if you'd like another founder to come on board, please subscribe to our communication and you'll hear from us soon. Bye bye.
Bye. Bye, Kavan.